Most people think you have to run every day to lose weight, but many of my clients couldn't even run at first. Joint pain, arthritis, or just low general fitness. So instead of forcing running, I started them with walking and then progress and run walk. Uh, just getting weekly movement, simple home strengthening, and some small caloric deficit. I had a client lose about 30 pounds in 6 months without the gym and without daily running. In this video, I'm going to show exactly how I use walking and the run walk method to help busy adults lose weight, stay pain-free, and eventually build up to running. And if you want a copy of this Google Doc, you can get it in my free online run group, link in the description. So, why a lot of my clients couldn't lose weight, couldn't run yet. A lot of them typically tend to be overweight and also a bit older, dealing with joint aches, arthritis, right? Knee pain, hip pain, making running pretty painful, right? Busy schedule. Maybe you have limited time to go to the gym or do the long workouts. And that could be, a big limiting factor, right? Also belief that they have to run more. They think, oh, I have to run more, but then they don't want to run, right? The belief that weight loss requires daily running or intense boot camp style exercises. That doesn't have to be the case. And then many people are less bored with traditional cardio and inconsistent routines and then poor nutrition habits, right? They don't have an awareness of what they're actually eating, their intake. They know they need to change their diet, but they think they eat healthy sometimes. And then they're like, okay, it's okay if I cheat a little bit here and there. But then overall, they're just maintaining. They're just doing a maintenance. And then that's why the scales are not budging and they're not losing any weight, right? They didn't have a clear baseline where they're at. And then they're kind of inconsistent with the training. Maybe they'll go to like a fitness class or something here and there. Maybe they'll go, maybe even go once or twice a week, but the scale wasn't budging because they were still at maintenance. So how I used a run walk and a simple lifestyle change, right? So I recommended doing a lot of my clients want to start getting a baseline of your current fitness level, like be realistic with yourself. Like in the past 30 days, how much did you actually move in the past month, right? So you get a baseline of where you're at. And then get them on a plan. If they're not moving much at all, we start with 150 minutes a week, which essentially, 30 minutes, 5 days a week of walking. We can mix it up with different types of activities, of course, but I'm just giving you a general idea using walking as an example. So they get 150 minutes a week. But if they're already doing that, right, they're already getting daily walking, but they're still not noticing any changes, we bump it up to 300, which is what I recommend for weight loss is actually 300 minutes a week, which is about an hour, 5 days a week of physical activity, right? So, and you could do a circuit, a combination, right? If you find walking boring, you combine walking with calisthenics, right? You may walk for like 5 minutes and then stop and do some squats and then stop and do some push-ups, right? So you're combining like a circuit of different exercises to make walking a bit more interesting, a bit more fun. Another thing you do is some days you could walk with a weighted vest, put on a weighted vest. I recommend starting with like either 5% of your brand new, or if you're more used to it, you can even do a 10% of your body weight, right? So if you're 200 pounds, 10% of your body weight, right? It'd be like a 20-pound weighted vest that you would use, right? So that way you can increase the intensity, the challenge of walking. Now, caveat, if walking is already a challenge, you're like huffing and puffing from just walking, you don't even have to bother with the weighted vest, but as you get more advanced, you could add the weighted vest there. Also making sure to track their food for at least 3 days. I got a baseline, a 3-day food journal, see where they're at. And then once you get an idea that you don't have to track forever, it's just for the 3 days to get a baseline. And then you see where you're at and then create a meal plan to be at a slight caloric deficit. And then just kind of pick 3 or 5 of your favorite meals, or if you need 7, if you need more variety. But essentially you're going to have anywhere from 3, 5, or 7 meals that you rotate through for the next month or two. You could swap it if you get bored in a month or so. You could swap it if someone who gets bored easily, but have the same meals. I understand boring it doesn't sound fun, but eating the same meals at a slight caloric deficit is going to make sure you're losing weight. The problem is they're like, oh, I need variety, I need to mix it up. So the thing is, even when you go eat out, you tend to pick out the same food anyway. Like a lot of people will go to, a fast food like McDonald's and pick the exact same food order. Like people will tend to eat the same things anyways. So make yourself the meal plan that you'll follow, whether you go like, oh, I'm going to have a taco salad Tuesday or something, right? Whatever it is, just have a set meal plan that you're following and keep rotating through that meal plan on a regular basis and make it, as long as it's a caloric deficit, you're going to lose weight. And you could have your favorite spices and things like that. It doesn't have to be too complicated, but you will lose that weight that way in addition to combining diet and exercise. And strength training is also very important because you also don't want to lose weight and not have any muscle mass or muscle tone. So make sure you're strength training at least 2 times a week. I even recommend 3 times a week. It's going to help further improve your metabolism. But if you're able to limit 2 times the minimum, and you could start with body weight exercise, right? Squats, push-ups, leg raises, calf raises. But you can also get adjustable dumbbells to have at home, resistance bands, right? As you get more used to strength training, you can even do single set routine, single set to fatigue. It's more time efficient, and you don't have to spend that much time on strength training. Now, if you want to do a warm up set, you can make it 2 sets. That's fine. But if you're very busy, even 1 set to momentary muscular fatigue, or called training to failure, where you really fatigue out on the exercise, is very beneficial. Obviously, safety first, make sure you're safe. If, let's say squats hurt your knees, you can modify the squat, go into the partial range. Or if, let's say, your hips hurt, same thing with the hip. If your squats hurt your hips, you can modify the range of motion or take a wider stance. Sometimes a wider stance helps the hips. And also make sure you're doing mobility training. So make sure you're doing some stretching. Where if you have tight areas, I know this is a lot, but pick one thing to focus on at a time, and as you get more depth, add all the elements together. But with mobility, stretch your tight areas. Maybe you have tight ankles, tight hips, tight knees, or tight back. Focus on mobility daily. Spend 5 or 10 minutes stretching on your tight areas, and follow a proper anti-inflammatory nutrition. When I say anti-inflammatory, essentially you're avoiding junk food, eliminating like trans fat or like high sugary foods. So, cookies, brownies, ice cream, cheeseburgers, pizza, those kind of foods. Sure, you can have them once in a blue moon, but if you're really trying to lose weight and you keep slipping up, I recommend eliminate before you moderate, because oftentimes people tend to overeat those foods. Like, oh, I'm just going to binge eat a bunch of junk food on my cheat day on the weekend. But the thing is that one day, that one meal becomes all day. They have a cheat meal breakfast, cheat lunch, cheat dinner, and then some people could do the cheat meal thing for just one meal, but unfortunately, many people tend to slip up, turn into like a whole weekend of binge eating junk food, right? So I tell people eliminate at least for the first, 6 weeks or 12 weeks, and then you can slowly introduce like a cheat meal here and there. But I'll still just limit to like 1 cheat meal a week if you're going to do the cheat meal strategy. But again, I still recommend eliminate all the junk food, especially if you're really obese or overweight and trying to lose weight. Focusing on the anti-inflammatory nutrition, foods that don't inflame your joints, doesn't inflame your body. It helps you lose weight and help you also, if you're dealing with pain, not have pain flare-ups as well. Nutrition plays a big role in this as well. So what happened after 6 months? Well, I had a client who I was working with. Boom. Let me just put this here. After 6 months of working together, me and this client, he lost about 24, 30 pounds or so, about 1 pound a week. He was staying committed to the progress. I was helping him with coaching, stay accountable. I'm also a physical therapist, helped him with the joint pain, improved his tolerance for activity, and able to transition from walking to doing run walk. He would do run walk 3 times a week. The other days of the week, he would do walking or weighted walking. And then eventually he went from run walk to just continuous running. He even went on to run a half marathon. So we built a strength and fitness without needing a gym, and improved his energy and consistent and long-term adherence, just because, he had the coaching there for me to help him support him and help him get unstuck if he was feeling stuck or kind of falling off with the healthy habits. But it's doable, and we did this all together online. So key lessons for anyone who can't run but wants to lose weight. You don't need to run every day to lose weight. You could do walking, brisk walking, weighted walking, and eventually progress a run walk method as if your joints could tolerate it. And it could be pretty effective. And I also didn't mention with run walk, a favorite ratio I like to do is maybe 30 second on, 30 second off, right? You run for 30 seconds, walk for 30 seconds, and then you start progressing from there. Anyhow, back to this, a slight caloric deficit and simple strength training. Start with what your joints tolerate, stay consistent. Start with 150 minutes per week of cardio, different types of cardio exercise in addition to the strength training. And then as you build up, you could progress to 300 minutes a week, which is about an hour, 5 days a week. And then keep the nutrition simple, right? And build up your running over time, gradually, right? Don't force it. This is the same low impact, sustainable approach I use coaching with my runners 35 and up, 40s, 50s, and 60s who want to lose fat without injury or burnout. I currently have about 2 spots open to work with me one-to-one to help with running to lose weight or even staying pain-free. If you're curious, there's a link to apply in the description. First come, first served.